While we're all used to continuous disinformation and conspiracy theories about China being printed in Western media, many are finding that AI models made by Western tech giants have a noticeably more difficult time lying about China. Case in point, Elon Musk's Grok, which is part of X, formerly known as Twitter. That particular AI model is perfect at debunking disinformation on China, on X, much to the chagrin of Western journalists, politicians, and those who believe their lies. Today I'm going to share 3 awesome examples with you that show Grok putting anti-China Westerners in their place, using facts alone. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Borham here in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. In case you don't use X, formerly known as Twitter, often or at all, the rise of Grok, the platform's built-in AI model, has been of great use in the disinformation war the West has been waging against China for decades. Basically, simply by typing @Grok on X, whether it's in your own tweets or underneath tweets by someone else, you can ask Grok any question you like. I enjoy using Grok to help me straighten out Western media and politicians who otherwise have enjoyed blatantly lying about China without any pushback whatsoever. Today's first example is a shameful anti-China Republican called Pat Fallon. And yes, the name alone should tell you all you need to know about this lying grifter. Anyway, Pat tried to share a case about some ordinary Chinese who ran afoul of the law in the US to suggest that all Chinese are government officials or CPC operatives, which is, of course, complete bull. He wrote on X, "In 2024, 3 Chinese nationals at the University of Michigan were charged with conspiring to smuggle biological materials from China into a US research lab." Now, the first part of this tweet is correct. 3 Chinese nationals were charged with something, not convicted of something, as we'll get into shortly. But then he added his own conspiracy theory twist to turn a real story into something much, much more sinister. Now, this is a trick liars like Pat use often, and usually they go unchecked. He followed up by adding, "The University of Michigan, in addition to many other US universities, has become a repeated hotspot for dangerous CCP espionage activity. My Espionage Protection Act would cut federal funding to schools with ties to CCP intelligence assets." So basically what he's done is twist a story about 3 Chinese nationals at a university into dangerous CCP espionage, a scaremongering tactic used to push his Espionage Protection Act, which he says would stop US schools becoming CCP intelligence assets. LOL. For anyone with an active brain, what he is trying to do there is clear as day. Scare his followers by using details of a real case and then exaggerating the facts to make out the case was somehow an act of the Chinese government or the Communist Party of China. And this is where me and my friend Grok come in. I replied directly under his tweet to Grok asking, "Were these people members of any government entity in China or even CCP members?" And Grok did not disappoint, replying, "No, DOJ filings and reports on the 3 charged in November 2025 describe them only as J1 visa research scholars at UM. No public evidence or charges allege they were CPC members or worked for any Chinese government entity." The case centered on receiving concealed roundworm samples and false statements to CBP. Charges were later dropped. So in other words, this is just the case of 3 idiots who should have known better. Nothing at all to do with the Chinese government or the CPC, and the case was later dropped. Now, Pat's readers have access to the true information of the case right there, thanks to Grok. Another example is how I'm using Grok to shame Western media who spam X with anti-China stories on the daily. Basically, accounts like The Economist love reposting their anti-China stories day after day, most likely because no one cares about their content and they aren't getting the kind of traction they'd hoped for. So now every time they spam X with a story they've already posted dozens of times before, I get Grok to count for me. Here's a good example. Under this tweet, I asked Grok, how many times has The Economist posted this article? Grok replied, I've checked The Economist's recent posts. They've shared this exact article repeatedly, nearly every day in early June and multiple times in late May. At least a dozen times in the past few weeks alone, and likely many more since it was first published in August 2025. Looks like heavy recycling. Then I asked Grok, what has their follower interaction been on average each time they post? Compare that to their number of X followers. And Grok dutifully replied, recent averages, around 21 likes, low reposts, 15 to 28,000 views per post. With around 26.1 million followers, that is tiny engagement, less than 0.0001% like rate. Ouch. Last example, recently James Woods, a foreigner living in China, headed along to Xinjiang on a holiday. While there, he posted what he saw on the ground, including this post about Western countries accusing China of cultural genocide in the region. That's not what James saw, with the Uyghur language spoken widely and seen everywhere on street signs and so on. But this guy, San Miguel, thought he'd use Grok in the way I do to prove James wrong. He asked, Grok, are minority languages being banned at schools in China as the primary language? Complete with a dramatic picture of a smashed Chinese flag that he went out of his way to find on Google. And Grok roasted him, replying, no, minority languages are not banned in Chinese schools. China's constitution and laws protect ethnic minority languages and require bilingual education in autonomous regions. Uyghur, Kazakh, and others are still taught as subjects used in daily life, signage, media, and official documents in places like Xinjiang. This bilingual setup focuses on practical unity plus heritage preservation, unlike the explicit bans and forced assimilation that targeted indigenous languages in past US and Australian policies. Ouch. And James made an hilarious reply to Miguel saying, this wasn't the answer you were looking for, was it? Grok's reply was factually correct. Don't be a pussy and delete your post. Use this as a learning moment instead. Touché. So who knows if things are going to change in the future as malevolent Western governments realize the truth-telling power of AI. But for now, I plan to enjoy the roasting. And on that note, that will be all for today, you guys. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you used AI to set any Western conspiracy theorists straight? And do you think we can expect this truth-telling to last for very long? Let me know down below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.